Hello everybody, welcome to This Week in Location-Based Marketing, episode number 13. Lucky 13, Asif. Welcome, buddy.
How you doing, Rob?
I'm great. Obviously, I'm Rob Woodbridge, the purveyor of Untethered.tv, among other things. And with me is...
Asif Khan from the Location-Based Marketing Association.
At the LBMA.com. 13, episode number 13, lucky 13. I thought about just skipping it like the elevators do, just going to 14, but I felt that that would cheapen us. We haven't earned 14 yet. We are on 13. Another great...
Especially as we're doing this right now, we've got the NBA All-Star Game on and the Heritage Classic between the Canadians and the Flames. So,
and that's it. I can't believe we're here. We are not good Canadians because we're not watching a bunch of other Canadians freeze.
We're dedicated to our craft.
We certainly are. We certainly are. And I'm just happy to say is that as the Battle of Ontario was last night, for those who actually care about hockey, that the Ottawa Senators, which is where I am from, Ottawa, beat up on the lowly Leafs, who are not so lowly anymore, 1-0 in a shootout. It was a riveting, high-scoring, classic hockey game.
Yeah.
So I can safely say like we won the Battle of Ontario, and we'll just leave it at that. So another great week in location this past week. Lots of moves, but nothing monumental. But a lot of what we're seeing is, I would say, based on the stories we're going to be talking about today, is a lot of consolidation, a lot of integration happening in the industry. And I think that's going to be a trend that we're going to see much more of as people are looking for real business models to kind of percolate. I think
you're going to see a lot of that. You're also, I think, maybe the latter half of the year, we're going to see some M&A activity.
Yeah.
Some of these companies are going to die off, others are going to get bought and integrated, and that's what I sort of expect. Yeah, the last half of the year. I
would have to say, because not a lot of these companies are concerned, as we talked about last week. Not a lot of them are concerned about actually driving revenue. So I love cash, and the cold hard dollar makes you live an extra day, feeds your family, feeds your business, keeps the lights on. At some point, even with funding, you've got to think that they got to generate revenue. So I would agree that M&A, the time is afoot. I would say that probably by next quarter we're going to start to see some of that happening very quickly. But none this week. All it was kind of like integration and cross-platform love, right?
Yeah, totally. And so the first thing we wanted to talk about is a New York company, great little company called Xcited. These guys have been at it for a while now, and so they announced a cross OS mobile notification platform. That's a lot of big words. Cross OS mobile notification platform. So what these guys are is they're kind of going in the same area that companies like Location Labs and Placecast to some extent are playing in. Sort of the combination of those two companies, I'd say. Focusing on supporting the developer community with SDKs and some pre-built apps as well.
But
go ahead.
I just want to know. I mean, is that unique? I would say that it's probably not hard to create a cross-platform in-app notification platform that they've built. Is it unique that they're across all? I mean, it's BlackBerry, Android, and iPhone. Is that really unique? Is that? I spoke with a company a couple of weeks ago that I haven't published the interview yet, obviously. And what they talked about was the same thing, which was basically they're doing conversations or in-app notifications, and it's just right. iOS. But is it a real stretch? Are these guys the only guys that are doing it across platform?
No, they're definitely not the only guys. But I think what's unique here is the way that they're approaching what they call push notifications, the way that they engage with the consumer, on their mobile device, and so. One of the interesting things about it is that in some respects it's through app, but it's kind of you don't have the limitations that you have in the way SMS and MMS and in terms of character limitations and things like that work. You have kind of a rich array of what you can present in terms
Okay.
of the marketing message inside of that. And I also understand that it's not limited to only smartphones. So while yes, it's supported on iOS and BlackBerry and Android, it also works on feature phones.
Okay.
So you have a very, very wide audience here that you can address.
Okay. Well, I mean, I like the idea. I love the. I mean, a big thing that iOS has not done very well these days is, and I think that there's actually going to be an update done, and a lot of the other companies, notification hasn't really happened to a point yet. I mean, it's still nascent. People are still trying to figure this out, but these guys are doing it pretty well, aren't they? Certainly when it comes to location. Let's just talk about what the features of the service are.
Yeah, and so and one other thing about it too is I think that not only are they doing it well, not only does it touch smartphone and feature phone, but the interesting thing is who are they targeting with this, right? So they're not going after the consumer per se.
Yeah.
What they're going after is the big retailer, the brands. And what they're saying to the retailers in particular, which is interesting, if you read their press release in detail, what they're saying to the retailers is if you're Macy's or if you're Gap or whatever, don't give 50% of your margin away to Gap. Bake in your own location notification push system inside of your own app. So they're kind of going back, almost 360 degrees from kind of what I was saying a while ago, which I still say, by the way. And that is that my recommendation to the retailers and brands is don't build apps. Focus on mobile web and HTML5 and all that kind of stuff, because for that reason that you have to go and build. If you're building an app, you got to go build for multiple platforms, which is costly. If you're building for BlackBerry, you got to build for multiple versions of BlackBerry. There's a lot of cost in that. And then anytime anybody makes any changes, you got to go and update and all of that, as opposed to building for the web. Now, so they're kind of coming back and saying, no, build an app as a retailer. Target your own customers, your own Gap fan base if you're the Gap, and we'll give you the tools that are necessary to bake the location element inside of it so that you can detect when customers are coming close to your store and you can push a notification to them. I think that's what the real power is here, is enabling the retailers to take control back from the Groupons and Living Socials of the world.
What I like about this whole concept around what's going on. The company that I interviewed was Urban Airship, and they're doing a lot of these same things, but just in the iOS platform. Which is rich messaging, in-app rich messaging and notification. And what I really like about this kind of play is that I think that if you're going to build an app as a retailer, and some should, some shouldn't,
right?
These could be the next loyalty cards, and this actually allows for that a little bit better. So if they've got the proximity search, and I've agreed to get notification if I'm in proximity to one of these stores, like a Starbucks or a Gap or something like that, and I've given them the right to send me notifications, I think that this is a really great way to lure me in,
right.
And to lure me in without perhaps giving me a coupon for a discount in a store that I'm already pretty loyal to.
Sure, but again, and so while I support empowering the retailers, to do their own thing and kind of maintain some of the margins that they've been giving away. What I don't like about it is that when you have every retailer building their own app, to go the other way, from a consumer point of view, there's app overload, right? And we've talked about that before. Do I want to have 60 apps on my phone, one for every retailer, and am I going to use them? I mean,
and then one for every coupon company.
Download apps. There's probably 3 or 4 apps we use with any regularity, and the rest, kind of just sit there. And so we're much better in my view, to have kind of the super app, the aggregator apps out there that suck in, the retailers that we care about as consumers, and then pull all that content in. And so maybe there's somebody who's going to take this, kind of bake it into the aggregation side of things, pull in all the right retailers, and away you go. There's, so anyways.
Well, and I think that you're right on with an aggregator, and a lot of companies are starting to do this. They're starting to pull all of everybody's data, and it's becoming an open source love fest that we're going on here. And the relationships that are being created out of this really lead well into the next store, which is City Search and Groupon and location deals.
Right.
It just seems that more and more this kind of marriage or data love, I don't even know how to classify it, is necessary as opposed to a value add. You just have to have everybody else's content into your app, or else you're not doing a good enough job of bringing deals to everybody. So let's talk about what City Search has done with Groupon and
right.
And location deals.
I mean, City Search is a service that's been around for a long time now. They provide valuable content, easy way to search for locations and deals through their web offering, which has been around for, as I said, for quite a while. And so what they've announced here is basically an app version of what they've been doing on the web for quite some time.
Yeah.
And the interesting thing about it is so the app currently, from what I understand, is iPhone and Android only, no BlackBerry. So it's only iPhone, Android. And in addition to their own relationships that they have with numerous merchants, which has been in place for quite a while, they've partnered up with Groupon, as well as Deal Map and a few other lesser known kind of deal couponing services, aggregator services. And they're combining all of that content. Now, so the interesting thing about this is that they're giving the consumer a fair bit of control over kind of what you see inside of this app. So you can automate location, a la geofencing, and just broadcast your location wherever you are. You can manually, turn on location when you want to, or turn it off. And as far as the deals are concerned, the deals are specific to wherever you are at that given time when your location is being broadcast. So the interesting thing here is Groupon is part of this announcement. And as you and I talked about before this, Groupon, their business lives on kind of the email world, right? So you sign on to Groupon, you get deals delivered to your inbox that are based on whatever city you set as your home base. Okay, so I'm here in Toronto. I get deals that are relevant to me in Toronto. But what I can't get through Groupon easily is that if I'm traveling to New York tomorrow and I get there and I'm looking for deals while I'm in New York, I've got to go to the Groupon site. I've got to proactively change my location to New York, which is a physical choice, and then I can go and see what the daily deal of the day is on Groupon over there. And what City Search has said is, look, no, we're going to bake all that in. The location is persistent, and we're just going to suck in all the content from Deal Map, Groupon, our own merchants, everybody else, and we're going to present deals to you based on where you are.
Yeah, and I think it's again, it's nothing new. It's just big names and big names, and is it kind of City Search trying to be relevant in the mobile space? I think they classified it as that. City Search wants to help shift Groupon deals from the inbox to the smartphone, but I don't think that Groupon really wants that at this point, because, as you said, Groupon is really about, the concept of Groupon is that a certain number of people have to sign up or else the deal doesn't exist. There's a minimum throreshold that has to pass, and so in my opinion, I think that partnering with a company like Groupon, unless Groupon's going to do immediate coupons, it might sound like a big announcement, and I'm great. It's great for City Search, but who cares? I mean, Groupon is at the end of the day, after 24 hours, if you've reached 1,000 people that have bought, then you get the coupon, and it just doesn't play well, in my opinion, to location. It would be nice to look around and see what one place or two places are offering deals, but I just I don't get it.
No, and I agree with you on that. But this announcement isn't about Groupon. This announcement's about City Search.
But so I would say
Groupon's the big name that's kind of thrown into the press release. But at the end of the day, this is about City Search saying we have an app. And by the way, in addition to all these location-specific deals that they're delivering through this app, Groupon and everybody else's, lost in the mix is they also announced, almost in concert, a relationship with Skyhook. Right?
Yeah.
And what that relationship brings them is, kind of, the trifecta in terms of how they determine location. So,
absolutely.
So it's GPS, it's Wi-Fi, and it's cell tower triangulation. Yeah. All three of those, are now available to City Search inside of this app in terms of how they're figuring out location. And so, to the Xtify thing that we just talked about, here you have, while this specific app only works on Android and iOS, well, the cell tower and the Wi-Fi and all the other stuff that Skyhook brings them opens us up to a much wider market as well.
Well, and that's they're doing that right. But you've got to be careful, I think. Perception here is that, jumping on City Search, jumping on Groupon, the only thing it means to me is that, Skyhook to me is great. So they cover all the angles, but jumping on with Groupon just means to me that they don't know what they're talking about when it comes to what they want. They've got the location down, but they don't get it if their lead story is Groupon and not the fact that, we cover you on all 3 potential locations.
Come on, we've both been in PR long enough to know that you just want to stick Groupon in the press release so that it gets picked up, right?
It really does. It really does. I'll just use this chance to say, this is good PR.
Anyways, it is good news from City Search's perspective.
I think so. At least people are moving away in good website, moving into the mobile space. I'd say that grasping a little bit, and hopefully what their product does come out, leveraging the location is far greater than the announcement with Groupon. But good on them. So the other, while we're talking obviously about this, aggregation of people and content and places, this one I really like. I love this little company called GroupMe, who people thought SMS was dead. These guys are bringing it back single-handedly. They've created a great little group messaging platform based on Twilio. And so this GroupMe marriage with Foursquare, I think, why didn't I think of that? You know what I mean?
Well, somebody did think of it, actually, before this, and that was our good old friends Brightkite.
Yes.
Right, who said we're moving out of check-ins and we're moving into group text and chat, right? Yep. So,
they just did. It just seems that this is not a very GroupMe and Foursquare is not as elegant as Brightkite, because you have to go to a website and do a bunch of stuff that in order to be able to find your friends and give permissions. But
right,
I just. It floors me that that this is so this is considered innovation, but I can't believe that there's only 1 or 2 companies doing this.
Yeah, and but I think it's one of those things where group chat is a utility function, right?
Yeah.
It's
it's part of a bigger product.
I struggle. Here's what I struggle with this. I love it, and I think its utility. It has function in a certain context at a certain time from a consumer point of view. But it's not something I'm going to use all the time. It's not something I use every day. Does it have the ability to exist as a standalone company product? I don't know. This is what I struggle with it, right? But I love the functionality of it. To me, this is the kind of thing that you bake into a device and you use it whenever you need it, right?
Well, so we had this conversation with on another podcast, The Week in Mobile, with the guys there, and the conversation is around CC in an email stream,
right?
Right. We got into a little bit of an argument about is group messaging relevant when you've got a tool called email that allows you to do it as well.
Yeah. Well, so here's where I see the utility. I say this is a utility. So, in a few weeks when our world, the technology community and everybody converges on Austin for South by Southwest, this is a scenario when you have big events and things like that are going on in a specific place. We have a lot of people who are wanting to connect with each other, for networking and parties and whatever it is. This is where that utility becomes interesting. So, so again, let's talk about the story. So GroupMe has integrated with Foursquare. GroupMe is a group text service. And so what you're able to do is see, through this Foursquare integration, who's there, who's checked in on Foursquare. Right. Based on, close to your proximity. And then you can kind of grab people and drop them into, a group text and say, okay, now I'm just going to send a text to all these people because I know they're all here based on Foursquare. Right. And say, okay, guys, we're moving from this bar to this bar, right? Or whatever it is, right? At South by Southwest, or wherever you are. So it's a utility function to me.
It is.
And I don't see this as mainstream. I don't see this as something everybody's going to use all the time. Now, maybe it's because, you know, I'm well past my teen years. I don't know. But
just a little bit past your teen years. Me too.
Right.
Yeah, I like the utility. If you're going to use something like this, you know, they talk about you know, maybe even around concerts or festivals or events like South by Southwest. You know, but a hashtag works just as well in Twitter, and you know, it's I'm not going to invite just 4 friends. One of the things that are interesting about GroupMe is it's contextual. So it's just like an email chain that you've started beforehand, and then you bring somebody in midway through. They have the ability to read through and find out what the context of the conversation is. With GroupMe, when I start a conversation with a group of people and then I bring you in, you have access to the back conversation as well to put context into it. It just seems, you know, so maybe there are little hooks like that that make it a good utility. But I would agree with you that, I mean, GroupMe is a piece of a bigger product, and it could be the piece of Foursquare.
At the opening about potential M&A, not, you know, these guys are pretty young. Like, I mean, they only launched in May last year. And they've still got a fair bit of cash to burn.
They got $11 million, right?
Yeah, they got $11 million, you know, to burn through. So they're not quite ready yet for that. They're not desperate enough yet to be acquired, but you know, build up the base a little bit, and you know, we'll see what happens.
Well, maybe they are. Maybe you know, having you know, 10 or
maybe it's a reverse. Maybe they buy Breakkite or one of these other guys that are struggling. Who knows?
Well, I would almost say that, you know what, the best time to buy a company like GroupMe is probably now when they've got $10 million in the bank,
right?
Because it's coming with cash, right? And so okay, so GroupMe and Foursquare. I think if you go to Group, what is the address? It's Group. It's groupme.com/Foursquare.
Yeah.
So go and check that
and
out.
that's the other point too. Is the only way you can actually use this is on the web.
Yeah.
It's not available through the app. It's not, you know, like, you know, so apparently it's coming, but it's only on the web.
So it's a kind of a pseudo announcement. We've spent too much time already talking about it. Oh, GroupMe and Foursquare. So go to groupme.com//Foursquare. Our next story is an interesting one because, you know, on first blush, it sounds like a play for location. It is about location and advertising and marketing. But then when you get behind it a little bit, you realize that what Astral has really launched is just out-of-home advertising and billboard tailoring based on location-specific data, like from Census. So let's talk about what Astral done. It's a Canadian company out of Montreal, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. You know, national provider of billboard out-of-home. You know, this is an area where, you know, I talk about all the time. Obviously, at the LBMA, you know, a big part of our base is the out-of-home sector, both digital and traditional billboard. And it's an area that's ripe for innovation in, you know, location-based targeting of whatever the content is that's being, you know, displayed on that billboard or digital sign.
Because let me say, because I think when we talk about innovation on billboard and billboard specifically, it's called graffiti, right? Is that as far as innovation has gone so far?
Well, yes and no. I mean, I have seen some billboards that you know, incorporate QR codes,
or they change images, right?
You know, some things are happening. Some experimentation's happening, right? You know, but this announcement kind of perplexes me a little bit. Because, you know, so they launched this thing. They call it MARC, M-A-R-K. There's no explanation as to what MARC means. Is it an acronym? Is it whatever? Is it like mark your spot on the map? I have no idea.
Or are you the mark? Right? That's
maybe
it.
I'm the mark. Maybe I'm the mark, and they're targeting me. I don't know, but. They say, look, you know, this will provide our customers with interest and habit targeting. I mean, I'm reading their exact words: interest and habit targeting, and it's based on StatsCan, which is our national statistics, federal statistics, government statistics organization here in Canada. So data from StatsCan, lifestyle and consumer survey data, and postal code data, covering a total of 5,000 consumer variables.
Okay.
And I'm like, so what in that has anything to do with any real-time location, anything? Nothing.
No.
And I'm sitting here going, okay, so I can buy the billboards I've always bought, and they're a little more targeted based on who lives there and where they live, and
what maybe
some buying patterns based on some consumer survey data.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know, it would be almost better if they actually came out, if Astral Media came out and said, we're partnering with Amazon.ca and Netflix, because their data will give you at least something a little bit clearer. You know, they'll be able to tell you what movies, you know, that neighborhood's rented and watched, and what products they've bought from Amazon, so that you can actually tailor your out-of-home advertising a little bit even better than the Canadian Census or Stats can, because that's published once a year. I mean...
Yeah, it's really interesting. I mean, I hope the bulk of this data is on that consumer survey stuff that they're talking about, right? I hope that's kind of regular, you know, monthly updated, you know, survey data.
Yeah.
But who knows? You know, and it's interesting because, you know, you know, we've talked about some other companies in this space. We've talked about Screenscape, you know, who's heavy into digital signage and has built-in integration with Foursquare, which is, you know, is real time.
Yeah,
which I love. Another company that you know is a member of the LBMA, a company called AdCentricity.
Yep.
Another digital signage company, operates across North America, works with Walmart, a number of others. They're moving heavily into this space. You know, similarly, they partnered with Environics, another research firm that they announced, I guess, just before the Christmas holidays.
Yep.
To give them more segmented and targeted.
But it's much more real time data that they're using.
Yeah, it's real-time data. It's got to be real-time. Otherwise, you know, it's just not all that helpful, I don't think.
Well,
as a differentiator. But
I don't know. I mean, have you driven by those street bench signs that say, "See, street bench advertising works"? Maybe that's like they know me because it does work. I just can't remember that 800 number. But
right.
It strikes me as this is just an announcement saying that we're actually gonna sell billboard advertising, right? Because there's nothing unique here at all. They're not talking about anything. What would surprise me or shock me, and maybe I'd be concerned if I was an Astral customer, was that wait, you're not doing that already?
Yeah, that's kind of how I read it. Now, I mean, you know, I'm the first guy to say I don't come out of that industry. I don't come out of the billboard world. So, you know, I certainly don't understand every nuance of how it works, but that was kind of my reaction when I read it. It was, what do you mean? Like, I can't buy a billboard based on that. You know, this is the first time I've been able to do that.
No, it's just like,
and I'm like,
it's a shot in the dark. Are we still working on location? Well, here's the best example. I mean, there was a few things in this press release, and I can't. I'll include a link, obviously, because it's worth a read on. So they called it a technology, which is the funniest thing of this whole. Sorry, I don't mean to bash Astral here, but it's not a technology. It's just data mining. It's analytics. It says the technology, for example, would allow an airline to geographically target consumers with ads who want to vacation in the Caribbean or Mexico. He said a bank could advertise mortgage rates to prospective home buyers in a specific neighborhood. It's like, well, you know. Yeah, but I have to be living there already to qualify for you to be targeting me there. And I might want to go to the Caribbean this year, but maybe not next year. It just doesn't make any sense what they're doing here. It's a good laugh anyways. So mark my words. Mark. There's some good lines, and it's going to help their bottom line. Like, that's what... I'm going to stop because the whole thing, every paragraph in this press release has me rolling on the floor. Laughing, busting a gut. So I think we should move on and see before we get sued by Astro. So maybe a little bit more along the lines of stuff that I love and stuff that you love as well, analytics and impact and ROI when we talk about location. Is that what Value Vine has launched? Is this something that actually rivals you know some of our favorite companies that are already doing this, like Ardesh's company and
I think so. I mean, you know, we talk about, you know, we've talked several times now about the need for more analytics tools. You know, every agency I go and talk to or brand I talk to who's looking at doing anything in location-based marketing, any kind of campaign, you know, comes back to at the end of it, you know, how do we measure? What are the metrics? what analytics tools are available. So, I just think we need more of these. So Value Vines come out and said, hey, we're in this game now. We've got a location analytics platform called Connect. What I like about this one is that it's a little bit different than the GeoTocos and the Moment feeds in the sense that it aggregates a whole bunch of data. So it's not just, your Foursquare, Gowalla, Facebook Places check-ins, but it also includes City Search and Yelp and some
Facebook
and Facebook and some other things.
Yeah.
So they're aggregating a lot of sources into the mix. They're focused on organizations that have multiple locations is their target. So they're going after the retailers, the quick serve restaurant chains, anybody who has numerous locations that they need to manage and kind of track performance around. The other thing about it is it's not just the data in terms of how many people checked in here, when, and all of that. It's sentiment, trends, and other activity around it. So they're building quite a nice little mix around what's going on here. So they're collecting review information and other things, and combining that with the hard data. So it's the quantitative plus qualitative that they're putting together, which I love.
So do I. This is the stuff that's missing in the industry, especially it's a good combination of social media and location aware, because it does monitor all these different platforms, and it, as you said, it does monitor the sentiment and but what's lacking in all these, and I think that's the next step that we're going to start to see with these companies, and I'm hoping, because what's lacking is that call to action. So there's nothing more frustrating than having a bad experience, and I love the product, our product of the week, which allows you to vent a little bit, but we'll come to that. But there's nothing worse than having a good or a bad experience, or being in a store and then getting home and then getting a coupon, or then getting home and having to vent about poor service. What you want to be able to do is have somebody at the moment that it's happening be able to create or break a pattern in the consumer. So if you're monitoring sentiment and somebody's not very happy, or the flip side, ecstatic about your product or your service or your company, you want to be able to act on both of those right away. Yeah,
which is, we talked about these guys a while ago too, so not so much on the analytics side, but in terms of reaction, the place punch guys, right? That idea of we're monitoring check-ins in real time, regardless of platform, Gowalla, Foursquare, etc., and we're responding in real time to those check-ins via Twitter. And pushing that back out. So I agree completely. Is that ability to kind of take this data as it's coming in real time and have a real time reaction to it is huge.
It'll come, and I think that so Value Vine and GeoToco and all these guys will start to integrate these kind of things.
And I mean, it's not when you're in the retail business, you for eons now we talk about customer service, right? And when you run, when you kind of contrast the local hardware store, the one-off hardware store, and with the proprietor that knows everybody that walks in, or and has a relationship and knows their families and their kids and everybody else, and you contrast that with the big box Home Depot, where that's just impossible. What a tool like this and it starts to do is kind of allows the big box guys to actually get back into that business of customer service, right? And actually know and be able to respond, or at least make that customer feel like they're responding to them
100%
in a real way. So that's what I love about it.
Well, yeah, and it's we went too far the other way, I think, in the between 2000 and 2009 or so, when, as Gary Vaynerchuk so aptly says, we don't give a shit. Right? We've lost that ability, and that's his book is coming out in a couple of weeks called The Thank You Economy, which is just this. And it's kind of personalizing the big boxes. Ultimately, is what you try to do. Is that there are some great people that work in Home Depot, but they don't know my name and they don't know anything about me. But there's a great person that works at Home Hardware here and around the corner, and I walk in and he knows everything that's wrong with my house. Right? And there's a difference. There's a human database versus the a CRM tool, and those big boxes haven't learned how to use that CRM yet. So here's hoping. So that's ValueVine, valuevine.com. And the product, what was their product called again? It's ValueVine Connect. So that's great. I look forward to seeing many more of these services come out, and then finishing that circle of, not only knowing what's going on, understanding the sentiment about what's going on and who's saying what, but then reacting in action on it. So good on them. More like that. Mm-hmm. Applaud, applaud, applaud. So through the stories, but our resource of the week really does follow in that conversation about sentiment and about how people are using these tools and the way people are using these tools. It's a report by Merchant Circle. Let's talk about this, because this was finally some really great data, consistent data with what we've heard, but some really good numbers that came out of this.
Yeah, no, a fantastic report. So Merchant Circle is an organization that kind of works in the business local listing space, a la Yellow Pages kind of world. And so there's a lot of companies in that kind of local listing business. And so they did a survey of people, businesses that list with them. I think it was 8,000 businesses or something like that. So fairly significant sample size. And some interesting data comes out of this. So they said that 32% of their 1.6 million local businesses, okay, that's how many they have that kind of list with them, are using Facebook Places. Right away, that just blew me away. 32% of these 1.6 million businesses are using Facebook Places. Now, most of these are small, medium-sized businesses, so that's significant to me.
But to add on to that, they said 12% are citing plans to use Facebook Places in the future, in the coming months.
Yeah, but they go an interesting step further. They said, so 32% are using Facebook Places, but only 9% are using Foursquare.
Oh.
Right? So what does that say right off the bat? I mean, here you have Facebook Places has been on the market,
6
for
months.
What, 6 months?
Yeah.
And Foursquare's been at it for a while.
3 years. It'll be 4 years, wouldn't it be, at South by Southwest?
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah. So that's an interesting number. So here we are. They're saying 32% are on Facebook Places and only 9% on Foursquare.
Yeah.
Then they go a step further and they start looking at this mobile, the daily deals, couponing, Side Our Worlds, Groupon, all that kind of stuff. And they said that 6.6% have used Groupon. With the not so uncommon these days that we consistently hear from a lot of these reports. So 6.6% are using Groupon, but 50% of those that used it will never use it again. Right? And we hear that over and over again. And I think that's very, very common with a lot of small businesses. They get overwhelmed. They lose their shirts on the deals. Whatever it is, there seems to be a lot of consistent issues in it's great for one-time foot traffic, but how do we sustain? How do we get those people to come back again? And the margins are just that they're giving away are just huge. Like, it's just huge.
It's so painful. It's so painful to watch.
And we tied back, that ties back to our very first story at Xtify, right? Xtify is sitting there saying, look, we will give you, the retailers, the tools to build your own.
Yeah.
So you don't have to give away 50% of your margin to Groupon. But
don't.
It's interesting.
It's striking. But that's a consistent number that we've heard, right? 55%.
Yes, it is, yeah. And this isn't the first report. It's numerous reports we've seen that. And then the third point that jumped out at me, which I think creates some challenges for companies like Foursquare, is they said 72% of small, medium businesses spend less than $5,000 total on marketing, on an annual basis.
I know, it's crazy.
So less than $5,000 total marketing budget on marketing. And so you think about that. If you're Foursquare, is it even worth going after a percentage of that $5,000?
Yeah.
Probably not, right? But if you're Facebook, you're probably already there.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, and Facebook offers this for free, so
right.
It makes a big deal. But there's also and this is not news to all of us that are in this business, but there's also an education gap here from the merchant side that they're not trying anything new because they don't understand what they should be doing with this location-based stuff. And that's not a surprise to us. I think that it's a huge opportunity, and if any of the retailers are listening to this or watching this, there are two guys here that are very capable in assisting them to try to figure out how to leverage this platform. And there are hundreds of others across North America that can do this as well. And somebody probably right next to you in your location that can help you start without a huge cost associated with. But there is an education gap there that that really has to. We'll see that close over the next year easily. I think that those statistics will be drastically different next year. But again, it's not one that a company's going to make a lot of money off of these small merchants.
So just to finish up on that one, the there's kind of like some of these high level statistics we just threw out are available through their blog at merchantcircle.com. But the LBMA has been in touch with them, and we're actually going to get access to the full report, which we'll make available later this week through the LBMA's site under research. So just watch for that. We'll tweet it out later in the week.
Yeah, and we'll obviously echo that tweet and get it out there because this data is pretty great. I always look at this kind of data, and you can look at it from both ends, and I think that you can look at it a negative approach, or you can look at what people are not doing anymore, what you should be doing. And one of the things that I think is pretty incredible is that the declines in traditional media spends. So, for example, print advertising, they say, is down 33%. Overall, print yellow pages declined 18%, which I think is not high enough. I can't believe people are still putting a lot of effort into the yellow pages, but I suppose you have to. And here's the one statistic that's interesting to me is that direct mail decreased 26%, and but most merchants say that that's the most effective way to get people off the couch and into their stores. So I would look at, you'd be surprised at the reaction that people get from a real letter or something that lands on their desk. It is an underrated tool in this world, and it's a very highly mobile tool, right?
Right. And the interesting thing about direct mail is when you combine, where you're sending that direct mail to. So if you start to combine a lot of the location data, say you take data that's coming out of ValueVine or something else, and then you use that to target where you're sending direct mail, it becomes magnified in terms of its effectiveness. Right?
Maybe we should send a direct mail piece to Astral Media to let them know that this is probably a better way to.
Oh dear.
Oh dear. So that's what I would definitely do. So when we get this live on when you get this live on the LBMA site, we'll obviously push this out. But it's the Merchant Circle report. I think you can get to just merchantcircle.com and you'll be able to see a press release with some data. Really great resource. We love them for doing this. Thank you guys, infinity. So, on to the greatest tool of the week. Because, boy, does it ever allow you to vent, doesn't it? This is great. The tool of the week. Let's see.
Tool of the week is called Tello. It's Tello. It's iPhone only at the moment.
Well, we should vent about that.
We should vent a little bit about that. Come on, guys. Let's get this thing multi-OS.
I wonder how many people have complained about that in Tello, that it's only iPhone. Anyway, so what is Tello?
So Tello is kind of like Yelp, specific to venting or praising, I guess, specific businesses or their employees even. Yeah. And so it's really kind of interesting. So the premise here is you go to a restaurant and you're able to immediately rate that place and or it's your server or whoever as an individual. And so this is specific to customer satisfaction only. You're not there to talk about, the food or, the experience or the ambiance or any of that kind of stuff. You're there to simply say thumbs up, thumbs down, on the place or a specific employee. So that's kind of interesting. These ratings are then posted to the Tello website and can also be pushed out onto Facebook and Twitter. So they've got some integration going on. You can build a list of favorites inside of this thing, so you can say, here are all my thumbs up places, and so that I remember them and I can go back there again. But most interesting that I think, so this is what's available right now, okay?
Yep.
But what they've talked about a little bit about what's coming next, and this is what I think where it gets really interesting. So they're going to let these businesses, the restaurants, the whatever it is, the places, they're going to let the places claim themselves on the platform, just like you claim your business on Facebook Places or Google Places or whatever. And then you can actually add to your place, to your profile, a list of your employees.
Oh no! To
make the ratings go a lot faster.
Yeah.
Right. So instead of me, which is how it works today, I walk in and I've got my server. Maybe I know my server's name. Maybe I don't. Maybe I rate them poorly because they didn't tell me their name. I don't know. Right. Or maybe they have a name tag, or maybe I only find out when they, I get the check and I see a happy face, scrawled with, Samantha or whatever it is.
Sandy with a heart.
Yeah. Cindy with a heart.
Yeah.
So they're going to take this a step further and allow these businesses to actually put a list of employees' names there.
Jeez.
Which is interesting to just, because on the one hand, it speeds up, obviously, your ability to rate a specific individual.
Yeah. But
on the other hand,
serious,
maybe you don't want to do that. I don't know. But it's kind of interesting.
First of all, John disliked number 1 Fifth Avenue in San Diego, California. He said, nice, but there was a green and attentive outside bartender. So it's good that there's a little bit of anonymous thing. But, here's a personal story. I was fired from a local Canadian chain, actually, called The Keg. It's a steakhouse. I wasn't really fired, but I was demoted and then let go because of something called a silent shopper. So these guys come in and they rate you on a scale of 21 things that you have to do, and you have to get like 19 out of 21. And you have to give the deals, the local specials, your name, all these kind of things. And I didn't quite do that. And this kind of amps that up, right? Where there's got to be a liability test on this, so that if in fact I do work at a restaurant that allows this, then I have to sign a waiver that allows my name to be there. Because if you really think about the social sphere right now, and I love this because I've hired a lot of people in my life, and where do I go to find out references? I looked on LinkedIn, I look at Facebook, and if it's a picture of them puking over a balcony, they're probably not going to get hired. And now you can really assess somebody's customer service etiquette based on something like Tello, where I can actually put my badges up. Instead of getting a reference or a recommendation in LinkedIn, let me bring my happy Tello references into my profile as a way to reinforce how good I am at customer service or something.
So is this like, instead of McDonald's saying they've served 7 billion burgers, this is how many people did you make happy today?
Exactly. Well, I think that this is you talk about sentiments in a restaurant. Boy, oh boy, this is or any kind of service business or anything. Boyfriends and girlfriends, right? You can give them thumbs up or thumbs down.
Yeah. Well, and so in some respects, you just popped a thought in my head. So in some respects, it's kind of like clout for customer satisfaction, right?
It is. I love it. Like, it's far-reaching. I mean, there's obviously some serious personal implications around around privacy. But you start to think about all those times where you wish you had said something, and I'm the guy who says something. But those people who don't, this is something that's far more lasting and far more biting than leaving 2 pennies as a tip and then walking out in anger. Right? This is something that you can actually do something about. And right now we know that at least in maybe not so as much now, but there's a point in time where customer service has gone off the map, where there isn't any, and people don't know what good customer service is in some locations. And my hope is that something like this would actually augment the people's thinking about what customer service means. If you think about the implications of your voice, your word, your tone, the context of the conversation to the people that you're talking to, do it in a way that is that it can be documented. Tello.com.
Yeah.
How frightening.
Tello.
So, Kelsey liked Rob at Roof Diagnostics, Inc. in New Jersey. Great job making emergency leak repair. Nice job, Rob. Thanks, Kelsey. I'm going to spend all night on this. And just as a side, it is available on Android, but it's a mobile website, m.tello.com.
Okay.
Yeah. So this is... I want to spend a lifetime on here to try to figure out where I should go when I'm not in the city. McDonald's. M disliked McDonald's in Bloomington. Worst drive-through experience of all time. Headset person was extremely rude and disrespectful. Shame on you. So, Asif, that's the product of the week, Tello.com, and we
That's
have
a
managed
wrap.
to kill 13 episodes.
All right.
So, we're back here for number 14 next week. Asif, the LBMA.com, we're going to have a bunch of, obviously a bunch of reports from Merchant Circle. We'll get that out to everybody. Thank you so much for your time. Love doing this with you, and we'll see you next week.
Thanks, Rob. It's always fun. All right. We'll talk soon.
All right. Thanks, everybody, for watching or listening wherever you are. We appreciate it. Give us some feedback. We love hearing from you guys. Thanks very much.